Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Within Range Coaching Podcast with Ranger. I'm Ranger, certified holistic success coach, and in this podcast, I'm breaking down the journey that entrepreneurs face as they start their organization, find solutions, and create an impact that lasts. So if you're an entrepreneur, nonprofit leader, or purpose-driven community member that wants to learn how to make an impact in their home, community, and world, then this is the podcast for you. I know you're just as eager as I am to get started, so let's get right into it. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. This is your host, Ranger, and today I'm joined by a very special guest. As most of you know, I am starting my walk across the country here in just a couple weeks, and during that walk, I'm going to be raising some money for a few different organizations, along with help from the Wander Project. And today I have a guest from one of those organizations. Today we are joined by Rachel Arnold, and I could list off all the accolades that she has and what she's done for Grace Hospice and the Hospice Promise Foundation, but I'm going to let her jump right in and introduce herself. Rachel, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me on and for such a great introduction. That was absolutely wonderful. I very much appreciate it. I'm very excited.
Great. No, that's great to hear. I'm also excited to kind of get to chitter chat with you and have you kind of showcase your organization and who you are. So to just kind of jump straight into it, how is it that you'd like to be known? Tell us about yourself.
So I'm Rachel Arnold. I am the Master's of Health Administration. I'm the Executive Director for Grace Hospice here in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I've been in hospice for a little over 5 years now, and certified hospice manager, working towards my certified hospice administrator. And I've been very blessed to be able to be a part of this organization here in Tulsa for about 1.5 years. And we've done some really great things in such a little amount of time that I'm excited to share.
Awesome. That's great to hear. And our little conversations we had before the podcast, I know that you said that you kind of fell into hospice on accident. Can you kind of explain what that journey from, I guess, that pre-hospice life to where you are now, how that kind of happened?
Yeah, so I did. I don't think a lot of people get into hospice right out of college. A lot of people don't go out of college and say, I really think that I want to do hospice, that I want to deal with death and dying every day. Most places don't even teach about hospice or what it can do or what you can do inside of hospice. So I went into management. I did a little bit of interior design and then went into IT. I am not an IT professional. I was in management. I do not claim to know anything about electronics, but I was doing management, and my best friend at the time, my mentor, was working in hospice as a marketing executive and said, "Hey, this position's come up and you've got to do this. This is just perfect for you." And I said, "Yeah, I don't know about that." And she said, "No, it's perfect for you. I promise." So I kind of sat on it and I thought about it. And by the time I really got around to even, thinking through the possibilities, the position had closed. But about 1 year later, the position opens up again. And she says, "I'm telling you, it closed because you weren't in this role. You've got to be in this role." So I was like, okay, I'm at a different place than I was 1 year ago. Let me try it out. So I went in for an interview, and at the time, it was some of our executives from our Louisiana branch that had come up and were interviewing for the position. And I remember going into the interview and just thinking, this is just so crazy that I'm even taking this. I've been in my job for, over 5 years. Like I'm not looking to move. But I remember sitting down and they were explaining to me what the company did and how it took care of patients and families. And they're going through all of this. And I just remember sinking down into my chair and going, oh no, I really like this place and I really like these people. Now what? So I left that interview, like not even wanting the new job and not even thinking that this was going to be a possibility. What do I know about healthcare? I'm in IT. What am I doing? And I left, and they called me back and they're like, "Hey, we just wanted to let you know, like, it went really well and we really like you. We'd want to bring you back in for a second interview." And I'm like, I really want a second interview too. So I ended up doing a second interview, and I think maybe even had a third interview. And every time the people that I was meeting through this interview process, every one of them was just more genuine and better than the last. And just like, wow, these people clearly are in this for the right reason. And you don't see that in a lot of different industries. And so I said, I don't know what I'm doing, but I think that this is what I want to do. So I ended up taking the position, and some days I still don't feel as though I know what I'm doing, but I will always stand by the fact that this is where I belong, that hospice is a calling. Again, none of us come out of college going, I want to do hospice, but the people who are brought here and that tend to make careers out of it really have a heart for people, really have a heart for hospice. And so 5.5 years later, I'm still here and still trying to make a difference in what I do.
Yeah, Rachel, thank you for sharing all of that. And what's coming up for me as I'm hearing that story just has a lot to do with, like, there's a certain feeling that came up for you that was really solidifying a conviction in something. And I'm curious, like, when you're having that interview and you had all these doubts of, I don't know if this is even right for me, like some voice in your head was saying, no, this is it, do it. Like, what was that like for you?
Well, it was terrifying. Medical as a whole is this big, huge, kind of scary organization. And for someone who's not in medical, and really I had no desire to be in medical, it was scary to lead people who are clinicians to, from doctors to nurse practitioners, LPNs, aides, RNs, therapists, all of it, knowing that I'm going to come in and I'm going to be a manager in this organization with all of these people, with all of this tenure, who have all of these years of schooling, who know so much more than me. What am I doing? But these people who have this schooling and have this knowledge, they are dealing with some of the most heavy medical stuff you'll deal with. I think every part in the medical community, everybody plays a different part in it. You've got your ER trauma doctors, you have your pediatricians, you have your hospice, you have your rehab, and each person plays a different part in people's lives as they go throughout their lives and through their medical journeys. And it was just very, very scary thinking that I'm going to come in and lead these people who are making such a huge impact in other people's lives. But, I had, right before I had taken this position, I had just given birth to my first and only child. And I think that creates kind of something in some people of wanting to make a difference and wanting to do something more with their lives. And that was kind of where I was at, was knowing that I wanted to be able to give back, and I'm not going to be able to do that through traditional care, hands-on patient care, but that I could do it through supporting those who did have that hands-on patient care. And so that was that little voice inside of me that was like, yeah, you should keep going with this. You should do that second interview. You should do that third interview. I think it was just that desire in me to make a difference in a unique way, in a more hands-off way.
Yeah, and that's something else I was going to kind of reflect back in that it sounds like the healthcare industry isn't exactly your first choice, but it's more so about supporting those that are out there, like kind of like the front field runners, the first line, the ER, the trauma doctors, the therapists, the counselors. It sounds like for you, it's a lot about being a support of the people that are doing that frontline work.
It is. Absolutely, it is. I have said throughout my career in healthcare, I'm not a clinician. I'm not a clinician. Now, surprisingly, you do learn a lot just by being in such close proximity to clinicians. I have seen things and heard things that I just never thought that I would be exposed to. But yeah, for me, it's being able to be in healthcare, to make a difference in patients' lives, and having that hands-off approach. There are so many things that go on behind the scenes of any clinic or hospital or hospice or palliative or home health. There's so many things that go on behind the scenes that no one ever sees. And to be able to support these people who give their time and their talent, first of all, but their souls to these patients. Hospice is a hard job. And so for me, being able to support them, to keep them going through their days, to fill their cup up so that they can give back to patients and their families, that's a huge role for me to be able to play that I just didn't really ever think was a possibility. I didn't know that it was a career that was out there. And it's been a very, very rewarding and enriching thing for me and for the other people who are kind of back supporters to the front lines. We all have that in common, that we fill ourselves up so that we can fill up others. You know, we've been blessed so that we can bless others. And that's what we do every day, is keep those people going so that they can keep those families going so that they can be supports in others' lives. It's just a very unique thing.
Yeah, it's the cup, being the cup filler of the people that fill the cups of others. It's like the going back in that care process to make sure that everybody has the tools they need, whether it's physical tools or that mental, emotional, psychological needs are met. Because I can only imagine the kinds of things that you and your team see in hospice. And I did kind of want to take a step back, and if you could just kind of explain a little bit more of what hospice care actually looks like. Because I know that's something you've mentioned in our pre-talk a little bit about, is being able to explain the difference of, like, you know, what hospice is, what it isn't. So could you just kind of go on a little, I guess, spiel about what hospice actually looks like?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think a lot of people have this idea in their heads of what hospice is. And it's, grandma is old and she is dying, and so we're going to call hospice. They're going to administer morphine and she's going to be dead soon. And as blunt and as awful as that sounds, I think that's really what most people think hospice is. And that's just so far from the truth. And that's why I love what I do, because I also get to educate on this. This is the new hospice. This is what hospice really is. And so hospice is actually a service provided, and it's provided at what we call end-of-life care. So when you have a long-term disease and you have decided that you don't want to continue to seek a cure for that, or a cure is not available, that's where hospice steps in. And hospice says, we can help. We will help make you comfortable. We will help you make arrangements. We will help make your family comfortable with your disease and with the things that are going to happen next. We'll basically be a support team for everything that you will need for the next week, 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 1 year, 2 years, whatever it may be. So to be on hospice, you have to have two things. You have to be eligible for hospice, which means you have to have a prognosis of 6 months or less, assuming that the disease takes its normal course. So with some people, the disease that they have, let's say it's cancer, your doctor says you have 6 months left to live. Well, for some people, that 6 months may be 3 months. For some people, that may be 2 full years. It just depends. You know, it runs its course in different people in different ways. And then you also have to want hospice. So that's really it. It's not a huge formal process. It's not going to attorneys or anything like that. It's just, you know, you need it and you want it. Hospice steps in and we provide your nurse, we provide your physician, we provide a chaplain, a social worker, volunteers, we provide aid services, and we can do a lot of things that other places can't. Each hospice has their own kind of set of, we can do this and we can do this and we can service this area. But for Grace Hospice, we work beside your physician. You don't have to give up your physician. You don't have to sign a do not resuscitate. You don't have to be willing to say, oh, I'm ready to die. I'm 100% ready to die, ready to go. You don't have to be ready to die. We're not here for all of that. We're here to make you comfortable. We're here to make sure you're not in pain. We're here to help you deal with family dynamics. We'll even let you have some of the treatments that other places won't let you have. You don't have to stop chemo, radiation, dialysis just because you're on hospice. They do have to be palliative in nature rather than curative. But if those treatments make you feel good and can help give you quality time with your family, we are all about allowing you to do those treatments. And we will stand with you hand in hand beside you while you're doing that. We'll coordinate with funeral homes. We'll coordinate with your family members. We've had nurses who have done face-to-faces on FaceTime with brothers who live in another country, trying to get them to, see their brother for the last time, or, arranging travel so that they can come see them and help take care of them. It's a full spiritual, emotional, and physical journey that we will go with you and your family for as long as it takes, for as long as you're eligible and you still want hospice to be here for you. So it's more than just, we're going to give you a medication and that's it. We're going to be there for everything. We're going to be there to wash your hair, braid your hair, paint your nails, help you put your Christmas tree up. We want you to get to Christmas because we want you to be able to spend that time with your family. It's also about the spiritual needs. Do you have unfinished business? Is there something we can help with there? We can help put you in touch with different things, different people in the communities. We can help arrange Meals on Wheels and haircuts. And as the disease progresses, we can be there for those things as well. We can be there for you to help get you a hospital bed and to get you the oxygen that you need and the medications that you need. And we'll deliver them right to your door so that you don't have to worry about going out. We'll coordinate with your physician so that you don't have to make these appointments in the middle of winter and, deal with the weather and all of the other things that you're going to encounter, all of the germs that you encounter. We want to keep you home too and comfortable so that you don't have to go to the ER. We can take care of you in your home where you're most comfortable, where you want to be, surrounded by your family and friends. And then at the end of life, at those last couple of days or weeks or moments, we're there to hold your hand and hold the family's hands and say, here's what's about to happen. Here's some education on what to expect next. And, as soon as that moment does happen, call us and we'll be there for you no matter what time of day or night it is. We'll be there. We'll make sure that your loved one looks beautiful. We'll make sure that you've gotten everything picked up and taken care of. We love to be able to go to the funerals of our patients, be able to say goodbye to the families. And then we also offer bereavement services that are available for 13 months after that patient passes, because grief doesn't stop once the funeral happens. It goes on for a while. And so we're able to really just take over for families so that families can be families and be together and not have to worry about, did they get this pill and did they make this appointment and do they need this? And we do all of that for them so that they can just spend time together.
Yeah, Rachel, and it's, I think that's interesting because like you were kind of saying earlier, when I first heard about hospice care, it sounded very like clinical and mechanical. Mm-hmm. Like you're saying, grandma's on the brink of death. Like it's coming. How do we make her comfortable? How do we get her meds? And then that's kind of it. But what I'm really hearing you say is that it's from that diagnosis that you have this amount of time left to live. This is the diagnosis. This is what's going on. That's really when you and the individual wants care, or the family wants care and assistance. That's when you guys come in, and it sounds like it's a lot more of a full service system than just the very basics. And I think that's what's most admirable there, is that it's not just the progression, it's really filling up that life all around. The Christmas trees, the communication, facilitating, I guess, those final wishes, and even being there for the family after. I think it's so important for people to hear that hospice care isn't just for the individual that's going through that end of life period. It's for all of those that are involved. And I think that's so special and just needed in that situation.
Yeah. And that's a great point to bring up too, is that it's, we're here obviously for the patient, but part of the patient is their family. And it may be that their family is their dogs or their cats or their fish, or that it's their home, or that it is, a large group of people that are surrounding them. And we take care of them all. We find placement for pets, and we feed their fish, and, we feed the souls of their loved ones, because once you've gotten that word from the doctor that, hey, there's no treatment, or treatment's going to do more harm than good, it's about the time left. It's about making the time left quality time with those that you love, in the place that you want to be, doing what you want to do.
Yeah. And it's just like you were saying, it's really about giving them that quality time. And I mean, when I was doing my financial coach training, just the idea of, life insurance and having these conversations with loved ones before they reach that point, it takes the stress off of the situation to really let you focus on what's most important. Like, we don't need to worry about the Christmas lights getting up. We don't need to worry about how we're going to get to the hospital for these appointments. We can, because Grace Hospice is here, but we can focus on spending time with our loved one, on making those final moments really memorable without that extra baggage and stress of all the other things that are going on.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. And just to kind of start moving in terms of the Hospice Promise Foundation. So Grace Hospice is and correct me if I'm wrong, is the organization that does the work. They're the boots on the ground, your team that go out and make the magic happen. And of course, for my walk, I'm raising money for the Hospice Promise Foundation. How does the foundation tie in with the Grace Hospice entity?
Yeah, and that's a great analogy. So Grace Hospice is boots on the ground, providing those services, the clinical services, the medication management, all of that. And behind Grace Hospice is the Hospice Promise Foundation that is allowing us to do what we lawn lagniappe. It is a funny word that comes out of Louisiana, which is where our home company is based out of. Lagniappe means to go the extra mile, to do something that is unexpected, or to give a gift that's unexpected. So our Hospice Promise Foundation allows us to go one step further in the care that we're providing. And the great thing about it is the money that we get here at Grace goes towards the Grace Hospice Promise Foundation. So it goes straight back into the communities and the patients that we serve. And it goes to provide non-medical items for our patients and their families. So rent assistance, grocery assistance. We've helped pay for funeral arrangements. They're very, very expensive. And if it's something that you are not planning for, or is something that it's unexpected, our Promise Foundation can help to offset some of those expenses. And we are able, through the Promise Foundation, to do some really, really cool things as well, like grant final wishes and make some dreams happen towards the end of life. So it's a really cool extension of the care that we're able to give here through Grace Hospice.
Yeah, and I think that's such an interesting point, that it's the non-medical parts of the life, and that's where the rent, the groceries, the final wishes. And I was just curious, are there final wish, like, what have you guys done, like adding that magic to these people's lives at the end of it? Like, what do you have any specific examples of things you guys have been able to do that are out of the ordinary or very special? Yeah.
So one of the other organizations that I worked through LHC Group, through the Promise Foundation, we had one specific incident that kind of sticks out in my mind. And this is going to sound absolutely silly, but you have to put yourself kind of in that mind space. So we had a patient on service who was a biker, spent his whole life as a biker with his motorcycles, long hair, long beard, kind of rough and, tumble guy. And he had told us that, he had these last wishes. And so he wanted to ride his bike again, of course. And then he wanted to go to Hooters and have a beer. And we just thought, well, that's simple enough. Like, why not? So we couldn't get him on a motorcycle, but we were able to get him in a slingshot. And we took him to Hooters, and his doctor said, absolutely, go for it, have a beer. So we have all of these pictures of him with these girls, just huge grin on this old man's face. He just, that was something that he was used to doing, and he got to do it again. And it just absolutely made him so incredibly happy. There was another incident where we had a younger guy on service, and he was in his early 20s. And he said he had never been on a train or on a plane. And the Hospice Promise Foundation was able to work with the community, and we were able to get him up in a plane, and we were able to get him on a train that went through Arkansas. And it was a beautiful time of year where all of the foliage had turned. And so he was able to take that ride with one of his best friends. And so the Promise Foundation is able to do these really neat things through community involvement as well, to make these wishes come true, as big and grandiose as they can be, or as small as just, a trip down to Hooters.
That's so funny. That's so interesting. I think that's also just such a great wrap up to the conversation. Like, it doesn't have to be, like you were saying, this grandiose, big, crazy thing. It's really about those simple moments, those trips down to Hooters, that beer with friends, that trip with a friend. And I don't know why I'm so stuck on the idea of you guys helping with the Christmas tree, but just those celebrations in life that are so easily taken for granted, that are so special. And I mean, that's why I'm so excited to be supporting you guys. And I'm glad that we were able to kind of talk on the podcast for a little bit, for you to really just share. Hospice is more than just the basics. It's about, I guess, maybe just sticking with that Christmas tree analogy. It's not just putting up the tree. It's putting everything on it that makes the tree so beautiful. Helping with rent, helping with groceries, helping make those wishes come true really just brings it to the forefront of, we are here to support you, your family, from here to the end and beyond. So I just want to acknowledge you for your work there, and thank you so much for everything that you do. And yeah, I think that's fantastic.
Yeah. And that was a great way to sum it up. That's exactly what we do.
Awesome, Rachel. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us today. In terms of getting in contact with Hospice Promise and Grace Hospice, you guys are located specifically in Oklahoma. How can people, donate directly to you guys or work specifically with you if they're within range of your guys' service area?
Yeah. So Grace Hospice is actually a part of LHC Group out of Lafayette, Louisiana. We have offices in almost every state, which is absolutely amazing. If you are here in Tulsa or the surrounding areas, we actually will service a 50-mile radius from Tulsa. So we go all the way up to almost the Kansas state line. And we go all the way down to Henrietta. If you're not from here, that doesn't mean anything to you, but we service a 50-mile radius. There are agencies all over the country, and not just LHC Group, but hospice in general. If you're looking to, refer to Grace, you can always give our office a call. If you're wanting to volunteer, we are always accepting volunteers. We have volunteers who work directly with patients, reading to them, singing to them, painting nails, combing their hair. And we also have the volunteers who work here in the office making calls, doing administrative work, that kind of thing. Or if you're looking to donate money, that is also something that you can find on our website, on our Facebook page, or to call here in the office, and we can give you more information on that.
Wonderful. And I'll be putting all that information down in the show notes so people can follow you on social media, check out the website, donate directly to you or to my fundraiser. But Rachel, thank you again so much for your time and everything that you guys do. I'm so excited to be supporting you, and I'm excited to see all the fun wows and final wishes and everything else you guys are able to grant. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you so much. We're so excited to partner with you on this opportunity.
Perfect. All right, everybody, thank you so much for spending your time and investing a little piece of your day with us here today. Down in the show notes, I'm going to have all the information about Grace Hospice, the Hospice Promise, and everything else that Rachel and I talked about that may be interesting to you. I also put a couple freebies down in the description so you can see what's going on and you can start your journey towards building a life worth remembering. Thank you again for all of your time. And remember to have fun, stay safe, and be yourself. I'll see you all next week. Bye.